Hello and welcome back to the Arcane Forge. My name's Josh, and today we're going to be embarking on day 19 of the Drawtober challenge, an illustration challenge where I try and draw every single day throughout the month of October using the on-screen randomly generated prompt words. You're very welcome to join me in this challenge. We've had some absolutely fantastic artwork sent through so far, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. I've already been talking about it quite a lot on my Instagram, which is probably the best place to reach me if you want to tag me in your illustrations over on Instagram. But if that's not for you and you're here to just chill out and listen to my commentary as the drawing unfolds, we can begin with day 19 and the prompt word rabbit. So for most of the prompts on the randomly generated list, I was quite keen to make sure that the terms were abstract or vague, had some open meanings, something that would inspire, some real deliberate thought in my illustration. I also find that usually means that people who are taking the challenge tend to draw different things, which I really like as well. I like seeing other people's interpretations of the prompt, what they take from it. And there's slightly less room for that in the word rabbit, so I was quite hesitant to do this one, to be perfectly honest, because it's just such a, are you drawing a rabbit, basically? It's one of the things I really didn't want to do was just draw a rabbit, There's nothing necessarily wrong with that at all. You can totally do that, but I like, half of the fun for me in this is coming up with a creative way to imagine a concept, to imagine this prompt word and think of a scene, what comes to mind, what do I want to explore, what do I want to learn when I'm doing this, what do I want to try out. So this was not a great prompt, I'll be honest, not for me anyway. I still had some fun with it. I still came up with what I think is a fairly interesting scene, but it was still just a rabbit and some stuff, At first I was going to go for a jackalope, a winged rabbit with antlers from sort of basically American folklore. And I know Apocalyptic Moth was very insistent. He was hoping that I would draw a very old D&D creature called a wolf in sheep's clothing for today's prompt. But I don't want these to be Monster Mondays, and as much as I love Apocalyptic Moth and all of his suggestions, I don't really want to take other people's suggestions for this one. I do that with Monster Mondays. This is all about your suggestions, but this challenge is quite self-indulgent, and I wanted to come up with what I imagined, what came organically to me. On top of which, I really didn't want to draw just a monster, because that is likely to be a Monster Monday, and my research tends to inspire my drawings there. I've never encountered a wolf in sheep's clothing, for example, so I thought it was best to leave that for a Monster Monday, same with the jackalope and so on. So what I did manage to come up with was the idea of a ranger's pet being a rabbit. Thought of maybe using the stats from like a bear or something like that to make a massive dire rabbit. This cute, cuddly, little terrifying creature. And I thought I would draw the ranger and their pet battling a few drow to basically just let me draw as many elves as I conceivably can in one sitting, because you know how much I love drawing elves. So I drew, I think, a wood elf here with a long sort of organic swirling patterned axe and some mail armor fighting off a bunch of drow. That is terrifying dire rabbit with some tiny little horns is absolutely butchering a bunch of drow compatriots that are sort of jumping on the back of this thing and being trampled by it and so on. Ever since Monty Python, I think the highlightedness of that kind of terrifying behavior by a very cute creature has just sparked a lot of amusement in me. So this was a relatively simple concept, but I still managed to find the fun in it. I tried to separate the drow from the other sort of wood elf here by going in and going for a wash of dark tones for their skin and clothes and hair, much like I did with the undead in the general prompt. Kind of went in and made them sort of concept arty with lots of washes of watered down black ink to make these kind of grey tones, and built those up slowly to show shadows, and then only after that did I go in with my brush pen to give them some line work and some definition. I think these organic shapes came out really well for the drow and really made a stark contrast between the light colours and the very limited shading of the rabbit and their master. So yeah, I was relatively happy with this one. I only started drawing the axe for the wood elf after I'd already drawn the rabbit, and after I'd kind of positioned everything, I had to put his hands really high up, close to the head of the axe, which would not make for a very effective swing. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. His posture's fine, but if I put the axe where it actually needed to be in a swing, then it would be eclipsing the rabbit's eyes and stuff. I think if I was going to spend more than a day on this, or if I was going to spend more time, then I probably would redraw this image and reposition them, but I didn't have that luxury, so I just had to kind of make do with what I had. And in the end, it turns out fine. It's just the axe is the only kind of irritating feature in this drawing. But otherwise, I really like the armor that I came up with for everybody, especially this kind of shadowy glass mask that I made for this drow on the right-hand side that comes out really nicely after I put some white acrylic for the shine in the mask and things. This cute, terrifying bunny. Used some really interesting techniques, like using a toothbrush to splatter blood all over this illustration where this rabbit was biting into a dying drow. And yeah, there's a lot of action going on here, so had a lot of fun with a prompt that I was initially sure I was going to not particularly like. But yeah, I hope you had a good time with it today. I hope if you are drawing, you came up with something really cool and interesting for the prompt word rabbit. Maybe a bit more interesting than I managed. But so long as you had fun with it and maybe learned something, then that's the important part. So anyway, I hope you had a fantastic day. I hope the rest of your day is just as good if it was. And I look forward to seeing you back here for day 20 and the word fade. I think we're going to have some really great ones there. That's nice and vague. So yeah, see you later. Bye.